feels so empty in here. Well, maybe because it actually is. There's not much left other than a bare shell and the doors and front and back windscreen. Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of the project F90 M5, and today I have a very big announcement to make. If you haven't watched the last video, this is the 2019 M5 competition I picked up from the auctions a little while ago. And besides this damage on the rear doors, this car also had a seized engine. On the last video we put the engine apart and found out that it has been hydro-locked, and over the past few weeks I have reassessed all the situation that we were in to figure out how we were going to progress with this build, and unfortunately, or should I say fortunately, I have come to the following conclusion. We are not going to be fixing this car. My first idea was to have this as a track car, because as I mentioned on the previous video, this car is a statutory write-off, which means it cannot be registered for road use here in Australia, and that's the reason why I bought it as a track car. I knew it from day one. Some of you guys have mentioned in the comments going like, well, if it's a write-off, why would you put money on it? Nevertheless, it started to sink in that feeling that this would be too much of a waste. Like, the car is perfect inside, and most of the parts, actually pretty much all parts, apart from the damage and the engine, are good. So obviously my ambition is bigger than my wallet, so I started to think on ways that I could probably get this car back on the roads. And after actually thinking for a while, all these crazy ideas started to come up. What I have to tell you guys today is, well, number one, we are not fixing this car because we are doing something that is 10 times worse or 10 times better depending on the point of view, and this is why I'm making this video today. I'm gonna show you, come here. Well, there we go. This is the M5, beautiful car, absolutely beautiful car. So we're seeing the inside is in pristine condition. But we are not going to fix it. Why we are not going to fix it? Because, ta-da! Yes, we are fixing that car. And what that car is, if you might realize, it's already got some M5 parts in it, because obviously these parts are from that car. But what that is, let's come around and I'll show you. Well, ta-da! This car is a 520i. So it's a 2019 BMW G30 520i, which means in theory, and I had to double check that, the G30 and the F90 are the same chassis. So although that one is a 5 Series and this one is a 5 Series and they are called different names like G30 and F90, the F90 M5 is complied as a G30 BMW. So you know when you get the 3 Series and you get the M3, and they are different. Why they're different? Because usually on the M3s, M4s, even the M2s, if you look at the rear wheel arch, the M cars are wider, and that's why the chassis are different. But on the M5, the body of the car is exactly the same, it's not wider. That's when I log into the BMW systems and I check the TIS, and the part number for the chassis, like just the shell of the M5, is the same part number for the G30. So that's where I came to this marvelous plan, which is, well, pretty simple in theory. I've got a basically full M5. There are a few parts that are missing, but pretty much everything else is in there. And this is a $150,000 car when it's all working, obviously not a written off. What if I just buy a G30 BMW, whether it's a 520i, a 530i, could even be a 520d or whatever, cheap G30 BMW, and I transfer every single part out of the M5 onto the G30? Well, in theory it would work, especially because, sneak peek, look what I have here. Yes, the engine has been rebuilt. This is the engine of the car. It's ready to go. So I'm getting more and more excited as time goes along. But what was the problem with that plan? Well, here in Australia, if you're going to get a G30, whether it's the cheapest one that you can get is the 520i. Is either 520i or 520d. You could get an ex-police car with 200,000 kilometers for maybe $35,000-$40,000, but that's still a little bit too much money in my opinion. So what I did is I found this car at the auctions, and this car was also a write-off. The difference is that this car was a repairable write-off, and as you can see on the photos, it had a front end damage, and all of these parts are the parts that we had on the M5. Without thinking twice, I bought the car, I bought the 520i, brought it here to the garage. That actually happened a few months ago. I pinched the parts out of the M5. So if you can see, the color doesn't even match because the 520i is actually black and the M5 was gray. I think it's a Singapore gray, that's what it's called. So that's the difference in color. But what I did is, once I got this car here in the garage, I pinched all the parts and they bolted straight into the 520i. The only thing that I had to do is I had to recode the headlights and recode the front radar because obviously they had a different VIN number matching to them. Once I got this thing coded, I took the car for an inspection because obviously the car has been to an accident and it has to go through inspection before I re-register the car. It passed inspection with no issues whatsoever and I was able to register that car. So this car was fully functional until I drove it here last week. And can I show you what I did to this car so far? Well, get ready because this is nasty. See, there is no engine, and in fact, this is the wiring harness of that car. There is no, apart from the positive LED for the battery, which I left here because they might be the same as the M5, but I have stripped out everything out of this car. Let's have a look on the inside. See, everything was gone. Everything is completely gone because I'm only using the body. I'm only using the shell. In fact, even the roof I'm going to remove because I much rather have the carbon fiber roof. But yeah, so everything is being taken off this car. Now what I have to do is I'm gonna have to strip the M5 completely and transfer the parts over onto the 520i. It's been a massive job, I'm not gonna lie. It took me about 3 days to strip the 520i completely, but because the wiring harness is the very first thing that goes into the car, I cannot simply take the parts out of the M5 and transfer over to the 520i. I need to take the parts off the M5, put it somewhere else, and then when I finally get to the wiring harness, I'll transfer over to the 520 and I start to rebuild the car with the M5 parts. The whole beauty of this project is, because it's the same chassis, it's the same part number, I'm not gonna have to drill a single hole on this car, I'm not gonna have to modify anything. It's simply unbolt from there and bolt it back onto here. Now, whether I'm gonna be right or wrong about this, well, that's we're gonna have to find out on the next episode. I hope I have been clear about what we're gonna do, and I hope that you like the video. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure that you do, so the next time I post the next video, you're gonna be there to watch and you're gonna get notified for it. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.